I'm going to tell you something about my grandfather that I do not tell many people. He lived to be 91 years old. He was sharp until the last year of his life. His memory was clear, his spirit was settled, his mind was precise. And in 91 years of living, through hardship that most people today cannot fully imagine, through loss, through the particular grinding difficulty of the life our people lived through the middle of the last century, he never once lived in a home that felt dark, not a single one. Every house he ever lived in, every room he ever slept in, had a quality of air to it that people noticed when they walked in, even if they did not have words for what they were noticing. A settledness, a cleanness that had nothing to do with how the floors were swept or how the windows were wiped. It was in the air itself, in the quality of the space. And when I was old enough to ask him about it, he did not hesitate for a single second. He said, "I keep the house clear. I always have, and I always will." And then he showed me how. $2 worth of ingredients. A method so simple you will wonder why nobody told you sooner. A practice he inherited from his own grandfather, which means it goes back at least 100 years in my family line. And likely far further than that through the Cherokee knowledge that was passed from elder to elder long before any of us were born. It goes back through the Cherokee knowledge that was passed from elder to elder long before any of us were born. I am giving it to you today, all of it, exactly as he gave it to me. But before I give you the remedy itself, I need to make sure you understand what we are actually dealing with when we talk about evil spirits in the home. Because that phrase carries a lot of baggage in the modern world. People hear it and they think of horror movies, they think of dramatic supernatural events, objects moving on their own, doors slamming, voices in the walls. And I want to be clear right now that in Cherokee, understanding what we call evil spirits in the home is in most cases nothing so dramatic and nothing so rare. An evil spirit in the home in Cherokee tradition refers to any concentrated negative energy that has taken up residence in a space and that is actively affecting the people living in that space in harmful ways. It does not need to be ancient or demonic or connected to anything dramatic. It can be, and in most cases is, something far more ordinary in its origin and far more dangerous in its accumulated effect. A home where severe arguments have happened repeatedly over years. A space where grief was carried and never properly moved through. A house that held illness for a long time without spiritual tending. A room where someone slept who carried something dark with them that they left behind when they moved on. These are the most common sources of what our people called resident negative energy. And resident negative energy, left unaddressed, does specific and predictable things to the people living inside it. And resident negative energy, left unaddressed, does specific and predictable things to the people living inside it. It affects sleep. It affects relationships. It creates an atmosphere of low-grade conflict that has no clear source. It makes people feel restless or irritable in ways they cannot explain. It affects the mood of children in the home, who are always the most sensitive indicators that something in the space is not right. And it can, over time, affect the health of everyone who sleeps and eats and lives inside it. And it can, over time, affect the health of everyone who sleeps and eats and lives inside it. My grandfather took this seriously because he had seen what happened in homes where it was not addressed. And he took his $2 remedy to every home he ever lived in from the first day he moved in, and repeated it with the seasons for the rest of his life. The remedy has 3 components, 3 things used together in a specific sequence. My grandfather was very clear that all 3 are necessary, and that the sequence matters. He said, "You do not season before you cook, and you do not cook before you have a fire. Each step builds on the one before it. I will give you all three." The first component is white vinegar. Plain, ordinary, inexpensive white vinegar that you can buy at any grocery store for less than $2 a bottle that will last you through multiple treatments. Our people did not call it by that name, of course. What our grandmothers worked with was a fermented, acidic liquid made from natural sources that has been understood across many cultures and many centuries as one of the most powerful natural cleansers, both physically and spiritually. The Cherokee understanding of vinegar's spiritual properties is specific. Our elders said that the acidic nature of vinegar is hostile to energies that exist at a low, heavy frequency. Dark energy, negative residue, the kind of concentrated heaviness that builds up in corners and behind furniture and in rooms that are rarely opened or rarely aired. These energies exist at a dense, slow, low frequency. Vinegar's sharp, cutting, acid quality disrupts that density the way a clear high note disrupts a low, foggy hum. It cuts through it. It breaks it apart. It makes it impossible for that density to maintain its hold on the space. My grandfather used white vinegar in small open dishes, one in every room of the house, placed on surfaces and left overnight. Small bowls or cups, any container you have, filled with no more than half an inch of white vinegar and set in the corners of every room before you go to bed. In the morning you take them up, pour the vinegar away, not down the kitchen drain. He was specific about this. Pour it away outside or down a bathroom drain where it runs into waste, not into the space where food is prepared, and you rinse the dishes clean. What the vinegar has done overnight in the open air of each room is absorb the dense, low energy that was sitting in that space the same way salt absorbs moisture, and the same way activated charcoal absorbs toxins. It pulls it in, and when you pour it away in the morning, it goes with it. The second component is salt, and specifically how it is used matters enormously, so listen carefully. After you have set out your vinegar dishes, and this happens in the same evening, same night before sleep, you take ordinary table salt or sea salt, whatever you have, and you go to every door and window in the home and you lay a thin line of salt across the base of each one. Every external door, every window, every place where the inside of your home makes contact with the outside world. A thin line. You do not need a thick pour. You do not need to use a great deal. A thin, continuous, unbroken line across the threshold of each one. Take your time and make each line continuous. Our Cherokee elders understood salt as one of the oldest and most reliable materials of spiritual boundary known to any people on this earth. Virtually every ancient culture that has left a record has some version of salt at the threshold as protective practice, and our people were no different. Our medicine people said salt does not create the boundary. It reveals and reinforces a boundary that already exists, the natural energetic edge of a protected space, and makes it firm enough that what should not cross cannot cross. Our Cherokee elders understood salt as one of the oldest and most reliable materials of spiritual boundary known to any people on this earth. Virtually every ancient culture that has left a record has some version of salt at the threshold as protective practice, and our people were no different. In the morning, after the vinegar dishes have been collected, you sweep the salt from the thresholds outward, always outward, never inward, and dispose of it outside the home. Then, in the evening, if you feel the home needs continued treatment, you lay it again. He typically did 3 consecutive nights for a deep clearing and then returned to it with the seasons 4 times a year as maintenance. The third component is what ties the first 2 together and what makes this a remedy rather than simply 2 cleaning practices performed in the same house on the same night. The third component is spoken intention over cedar smoke. After the vinegar dishes are placed and the salt lines are laid, you light a small bundle of cedar or sage. Cedar is our first medicine always. Sage if cedar is not available. And you carry it slowly through every room of the home. Every room. Starting at the back of the house and moving toward the front door, moving slowly, letting the smoke reach the ceiling and the corners and the space under furniture and behind doors. Every room in sequence moving always toward the exit, always pushing from back toward front, so that what the smoke disturbs and dislodges is moving toward the door, toward the outside, and not being pushed deeper into the home. And while you carry the smoke, you speak, out loud, not in your head, with your actual voice in the actual air of your actual home. You say, "This home belongs to peace. This home belongs to those who live here in love and in health. What is not welcome here is not welcome here. I am telling you now to leave. Leave through the door I have opened for you. Leave through the smoke that is moving you. This home is being reclaimed." Say it in every room. Adjust the words to what feels true and real in your mouth because the words need to feel like yours, not like a script you are reading. The intention behind them is the medicine. The words are just the vehicle the intention travels in. Now I want to tell you what to look for after the 3-night treatment because my grandfather was very specific about the signs that it is working, and I think they matter for you to know. My grandfather always said, "What you mean when you speak in your home, the home hears." He treated every room of his house as a living relationship that responded to how he engaged with it. And his homes always responded the way he tended them. Now I want to tell you what to look for after the 3-night treatment, because my grandfather was very specific about the signs that it is working, and I think they matter for you to know. The first sign is a change in how the air feels in the home. This is the most immediate and the most commonly reported. Within the first morning after the overnight vinegar treatment, most people say the home feels lighter. Not warmer necessarily, lighter, less dense, like something that was sitting in the rooms has shifted. Our grandmothers said this is exactly what has happened. The density has been disrupted. Give it 3 nights and the shift becomes more pronounced. The second sign is changes in the sleep of everyone in the home, particularly children. Children are the most sensitive indicators of the spiritual quality of a space, and they respond to clearing faster than adults do. If children in the home have been sleeping poorly or waking at night or experiencing bad dreams, our medicine people said watch for improvement in their sleep first. It often shows before the adults notice changes in themselves. The third sign is a reduction in unexplained conflict. My grandfather said that homes with resident negative energy produce conflict the way a wet basement produces mold, not because the people living there want to fight, but because the conditions of the space create conditions in the people. After a proper clearing, the arguments that seem to ignite from nowhere begin to reduce. Not because the people have changed, because the space has changed. And a changed space changes what happens inside it. The fourth sign is the one my grandfather found most satisfying, and the one that I have watched confirm the treatment more times than I can count over 85 years of paying attention. After a thorough clearing of a home using vinegar and salt and cedar smoke with spoken intention, People who carry dark intentions or who are themselves heavily burdened with negative energy stop wanting to come to the house. They find reasons not to visit. They cancel plans. They drift away. Our medicine people said this is the protective field of the cleared home, actively sorting what enters it. A well-maintained, protected home becomes selective in the way a healthy body is selective. The immune system knows what belongs and what does not, and a cleared home develops something similar. What belongs there will be welcomed and will feel at ease. What does not belong will feel the resistance of the boundary and will not want to cross it. My grandfather never had to ask certain people to leave his life. They simply stopped appearing at the door. $2, 3 nights. Vinegar in dishes, salt at the threshold, cedar smoke through every room with your voice and your intention leading it. That is the whole remedy. That is 100 years of my family's most basic and most non-negotiable home protection practice, given to me by my grandfather, who received it from his, and given to you now by me. Your home is not just walls and a roof. It is a living space with a spiritual condition that affects everything and everyone inside it. Tend it the way you tend a garden. Clear it regularly. Protect its thresholds. Speak to it with intention. It will respond the same way a garden responds to someone who cares for it properly. With abundance and with life and with a quality that people feel the moment they walk through the door. It will respond with a quality that people feel the moment they walk through the door. Start tonight.